Live.
Look at my eyes, man. Do I look creepy right now?
You look like you're really in the zone.
I'm in the zone. Yeah, I'm ready to fuck this up. No, I'm just kidding, man. All right, this is episode 42, right? Welcome back to
Yes,
InfoSec
sir.
to Insanity, where firewalls are optional, but accountability, that shit's mandatory, man.
Well, so let's let's take a step back from that.
A step back.
Right. So I want to. I think I came up with this like 2 minutes ago. I wanted to preface this like we think accountability is mandatory. The reason we're talking about this is because the industry just says, "Meh, fuck it."
Yeah, there's some truth to that.
So that's why we're
There's some
talking
truth
about
to that. Well, we've been kind of dying to do this episode. I mean, do this series for a while because you and I have been talking, in the background about, I think just you and I are accountability people. I mean, my father taught me, and it was kind of beaten into me when I was a kid, that shitty choices have consequences. And so I expect consequences when I make shitty choices. I don't blame anybody for all the shitty choices I made that ended up in jail, the alcoholism, the partying, all the crap I did, 20 something years ago. There ain't nobody to blame but me. And it wasn't until I was held accountable, until I accepted accountability for that I actually changed. And I think our industry, I was doing some research today because I'm preparing for, the part two, which is, coming up next week, about how, when was the first time I ever got a data breach notification from a company? And the first one I can remember was back in 2005, and it was Choice Point.
it.
And what I was thinking about was how things have not gotten any better. In 30 years in this industry, I could take the same talk I gave 25 years ago, change the date, change the cover, and give the same exact talk today, and people will be like, oh my God, that's revolutionary. It's like bullshit. It's the same damn thing. We haven't made progress. And people say, well, we've made progress. I mean, we've got AI, we've got, all these XDR shit, we've got this and that and everything else. Like, look at all the progress we've made. It's like, no, you just continue to layer on more complexity. You continue to treat the symptoms, but you haven't gotten to the root cause of the problem.
Hmm.
And there are multiple root causes to the problem, meaning this broken industry. But there's no way we should accept, since 2005, we've had over 9,000 reported data breaches. Those are the ones that are reported.
Right.
Now, I've done incident response hundreds of times, and I know that most of them go unreported. So, how many
Because
data
there's no
breaches have we
requirement.
had? And even when there is a requirement, I've been in legal cases where it's like the Target one comes up over and over again because that was 14 months of my life that I'll never get back. Where, Evan, what do you think about this? Explain that to us, and you're talking to a whole bunch of lawyers who are really, really smart. And they ask you, well, in your opinion, do you think this is negligent? I'm like, well, I'm not the fucking lawyer. Whether I think it's negligent or not, that doesn't matter because I'm not the one, making the case. In my opinion, absolutely, this shit is negligent. This is basic information security stuff that they should have been doing from the beginning. And then they would ask, well, in the other companies you've done and consulted with over the years, is this uncommon? What you see here at Target? I'm like, no, it's sadly it's not uncommon. Well, then it's not negligent. Oh, fuck. So like if you have the entire, it's like this herd mentality. If the entire
Hmm.
herd is running off the cliff, that's okay. you know,
And it doesn't make any sense. And I've asked, like, I think it's a business thing too. Like, I've worked for a couple different companies, and they're like, "Oh, like, Is everybody else doing this? Was everybody else doing? It's like, why do we care what everybody else is doing? Just do the fucking right thing and listen to me, and not just try to do the bare minimum that everybody else is doing.
Right.
So
So,
you had your dad who taught you about professionalism
well,
and
no, well, not
accountability.
so much professional. Yeah, shitty choices had
Accountability.
consequences, and
Yeah,
so
I kind of
when he would
went
hold
into my
me
own thing.
accountable for my shitty choices, he would explain to me that that's why he's doing what he's doing. He'd rather him teach me consequences than the world teach me consequences. And obviously, I didn't listen from the age of I had my first felony at the age of 14. Did a lot of stupid shit. Obviously, it didn't sink in until I was like, what age am I now? 54. Shit, 20 till I was 30 maybe, before I finally yeah, my dad was right. Why am I in jail again? Well, because shitty choices have consequences. But that was the thing, right? That's the thing in life. In so many areas of life, you are held accountable. You break the law, you're held accountable. In our industry, you make stupid choices. You may not be breaking the law, but I mean, the law is a whole nother problem. And
Yeah.
so in this series, so
So I
let me
had like
let me just open this up real quick.
okay.
So for people who haven't listened to an episode of this before, I'm your host, Evan Francine, security guy, truth teller, professional caller out of cyber bullshit, I guess for more than 30 years now. And that's nothing to brag about. It's just, it might explain some of the jadedness in my voice. But joining me is my co-host, all around awesome dude, one of my favorite people, Marine, all that shit, and my chief partner in calling out information and security bullshit, Matt Goodacre. So that's Matt. Now, I'm at a different stage in my career where I don't really care so much what people think about me. I'm not like going out and getting jobs. I'm not trying to further my career anymore. And I'm saying this because Matt might be wanting to climb up the corporate ladder a little bit. I mean, he's younger than I am. He's got, a lot of future ahead of him. So don't hold the shit that I'm saying in this podcast or in this series against him. If you're looking to hire Matt, you're like, well, I don't know if we want to hire this guy because,
Well, I mean, to the whole point of this, like anything I say, I need to be accountable to myself anyway. So it doesn't. It's all part of the thing. It's all bullshit. And I think so like back to accountability, right? So I think there's a lot of things you can take from the military, and that's why I find this so intriguing, because I always hear this isn't the military, it's corporate America, like whatever. I had a platoon sergeant that told me early on two things I expect from you: professionalism and accountability. You do what's right because it's right. So we could argue whether the industry is doing the right thing. And then you're accountable to and for everybody. And now this I think is key in what we're doing, because a lot of companies, like I said before, well, what is everybody else doing? We only worry about our competitors, but everyone is on the internet. Everything is connected. We should all be working together. If someone has a breach of data, it impacts everybody. So we should be
right.
accountable to everybody for all our actions.
Yeah, man. I mean, there are systemic issues that are broken in this industry that we're going to call out. So this is, and this is episode 42. Tonight we're kicking off this brand new series, right? That's been a long time coming.
Kick off.
Bam, in your face, bitches, maybe. But it's been a long time coming. Accountability in cybersecurity is broken. For the last 10 or so episodes, we fixed our eyes on mental health. We talked about, May was Mental Health Awareness Month. We didn't take it like that wasn't good enough, right? 1 month isn't good enough for mental health. We're going to talk about it until we don't feel like talking about it anymore, and then we'll talk about it some more. Excuse me. So we did that, and then and we're not letting that go. I mean, we'll come back to that again, but it's time to kick off something it's a structural rot that makes this industry so damn fragile. And we need to talk about it. We need to get it out there. I'm going to use a lot of opinion in this series, every opinion that I'm going to share in this series is an opinion that I can back up, meaning I've thought about it. You find that there's two things that people generally do when they can't defend their point is they'll either change the subject or they'll attack your character. I'm not going to do either one of those things. I look forward to, Matt, it might be helpful too, at some point along in the series, if you want to play devil's advocate with some of this stuff, so that we can just try to figure out, because the thing is, like you said, we're all in this industry together, right? It's not my problem to fix. It's not Matt's problem to fix. It's our problem to fix. And until we embrace some of, the solutions to some of these things, admit that we have a problem, right? It's like when you go through Alcoholics Anonymous, like first step, step one, admit you got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, we've got a problem with accountability in this industry. If you disagree with something that I'm saying, you're more than welcome to come on here, right, and share your opinion. There are going to be times, in this series where I'm going to call out lawyers. I think the legal community is a big contributor to why this accountability problem is such a problem. Call out vendors. I call out tonight. I kind of touch a little bit on CEOs, boards of directors, owners, the top of business, but I almost don't blame those guys, because the way the system is set up, it's set up for you not to be accountable. So why step out of that? I'm not rewarded in any way for being accountable. So whatever, we'll get through all that stuff. But let me ask you something. When a breach happens, who really gets held accountable? So breach happens. You've read about them. I've read about them. Allegedly, there's been over 9,000 some odd data breaches that have been publicly disclosed in the last 20 years. So when that happens, who really gets held accountable? Is it the CISO who's been begging for the budget for 3 years? I'm guessing that the CISO, unless they're completely incompetent, and there are CISOs who are completely incompetent, but a CISO has two jobs. I've said this many times. Your job is to consult the business to make good information security risk decisions and then implement those risk decisions. That's your job. Now, if you're a CISO that thinks that your job is actually to make those information security risk decisions and you haven't been delegated like explicitly to do that, you ain't doing the job right. So most CISOs, I think, have been trying to do their best. They've been asking for a budget. They've been trying to get FaceTime with the CEO. They've been trying to get time with the board of directors. They've been trying to communicate, we have issues that we need to address, and I need your help to get these things addressed. So when shit hits the fan, are they the ones who are held accountable? Sometimes.
Seems
Oftentimes.
to be a more popular answer trending right now.
Right. Well, or is it the engineer who got dumped into prod with zero training?
That's a cool.
That never
phrase
happens.
Never.
Or is it the boardroom full of execs who said cybersecurity is important, but not this quarter? Not yet. We got other shit to do. Sales are down. We gotta cut expenses or whatever the fuck that, I don't know.
I want to challenge. I mean, back to your point, like, are the CISOs doing a good job or a bad job? I haven't been in the boardroom yet, so I don't know, but like, are we doing the right thing in there to make them think it's important? Or is it all just them saying, hey, what's up with this vulnerability? Or like, hey, we should be aware of this. Like, they're asking for dumbass phishing metrics and shit like that. Is that what's happening? Or are we really like trying to communicate to them why it's important? I don't know.
I think it's all over the place, man.
There's no like consistent structure on how to do this.
No. I mean, Google, what does a CISO do?
Okay.
It's kind of all over the place, right? I mean, there's some common, I think, logic in what CISOs do, but I think a lot of people are CISOs And it feels good to be a CISO because you're kind of at the top of the food chain now. You know what I mean? You've put in your time and effort, and now you're an executive, and you're probably getting paid a hell of a lot of money, $250, $300, $400,000 a year. You go to conferences and you get to wear, the name tag that says CISO of whatever company, and people give you like, oh my God, you're a CISO. Hi, can I get a job?
Let's go to
Sometimes I think
dinner. Let's play golf.
it's an ego trip, but in practice, I think, and I'm hard on CISOs, man. I respect all CISOs, except for the ones, I guess, that just think they got all their shit together when it's obvious that they don't, or the ego trip guys, gals, people. But I think it's all over the board, man. I think there's some good CISOs, and I think there's a lot of CISOs that aren't very good. I think even the training that CISOs get is half-assed at best. I mean, I think there's a lot of pussyfooting around problems, accepting the status quo. Too much of that, and it's broken.
All right. So tonight we're setting the record straight, huh?
We are. We're just going to poke the bear. We're going to dissect it. Or we're not just going to poke the bear. We're probably going to put a bullet in it, dissect it, slap a name tag on it, and make sure it can't hide another lessons learned, quote unquote, webinar. So in part 1 of the 6-part series, we're asking the question that should be on every leader's whiteboard right now: is accountability in cybersecurity actually broken? The spoiler is, yeah, it's broken deeply. Now, I'm curious, what would somebody say? Do you think there are people that would say, no, it's not broken? And if you're one of those people, man, I want to talk to you, because tell me how you think it's not broken. And I want to, maybe I'm missing a whole nother side of this.
My thought is that people aren't even asking the question because they don't have the bigger sense of purpose that we do. They're just focused on make money, sell the tool, like whatever. So they're not stepping out and thinking deeper like we are.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Well, the fact that, and the reason why this drives me nuts is people suffer. When we get shit wrong, people suffer. And we'll talk about how they suffer in the next part of this series. But our job is to protect people. It's to help people. Our job, and that's from, and in that first blog post that I posted last week, I called out 3 different types of bad people in this industry. One is, the attacker, the overt attacker, the one, the ransomware gangs, the nation state people, whatever. They're attackers. They don't try to hide it. That's who they are. Then you've got these wolves in sheep's clothing, the people that are in our industry that are taking advantage of other people by selling them shit that doesn't work, that they don't need, that they don't even know how to use. Right? So it's almost like you capitalize on this fear and this emotion to make money off of them. That's taking advantage of people. And then the third one is just the ignorant. The people who continue to just adopt new technology without understanding how to use it responsibly. They just keep doing it. They're ignorant. They don't give a shit.
Well, the company leadership gets pushed or bullied or convinced, socially engineered to make the decision, and it's down to the engineers to like figure it out and try to slap some lipstick on a pig, I guess.
Well, if you want the engineers to figure it out, then empower them to figure it out. You know what I mean? The thing is, how often though do you go into, an executive meeting or a board of directors and you're afraid to say what you really think? You're afraid to say what really needs to be said because you might not get invited back.
Right.
And yeah, we've all got to keep jobs and we've got to pay our bills and, support our families. But maybe it starts with conversations like this where I didn't say it, Evan said it. You know what I mean? Somehow we have to change this, because you don't just continue to let things be broken, because they get more broken over time. They don't just fix themselves, magically. So anyway, we're going to go deep into that shit. And is accountability in the information security industry broken? Absolutely it is. We're going to cover that tonight. And then we're going to go into, in the next 5 parts of this series, we're going to talk about what I think are the root causes. 5 root causes of why this accountability thing is an accountability thing. But before that, we got to hit some what the fuck news. Take our weekly therapy dose in the CISO humor segment. Then dive into the real meat, which is what we've kind of been talking about. What's busted, who's ducking blame, and why it's time to stop handing out gold stars for silence and scapegoats. We need to stop patting ourselves on the back like, oh my God, you're doing so good. You won CISO of the year, whatever the fuck. All right, then if you are truly the CISO of the year, bring us along with you and help us fix this shit. I get frustrated by every award we hand out in this industry, because it's like, who are we to be handing out awards?
Well, we give them out to ourselves. We start an LLC, we start a magazine, a website, we give them money, and then, hey, you're the award winner.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah. All right, so this is InfoSector Insanity. It's time to bring accountability back into the room. The first segment, what the fuck happened this week? SharePoint's back in the news, or still in the news. So SharePoint ransomware campaign explodes. 400 plus systems hit. A China-based threat actor, Storm 2603, has exploited recently disclosed flaws in Microsoft SharePoint Server. We have 2 new CVEs this week, but makes it different from what we talked about last week. This is different. They're new vulnerabilities that are being exploited. So one is CVE 2025-49706 and CVE 2025-49704, aka also known as Tool Shell. They're using this to deploy ransomware like Warlock and Lockbit Black. And this is different, like I said, than last week's CVE 2025-53770 and 53771.
But it's different exploit, but it's still, like, I think it's still on track with what you were theorizing about, like, something happened and then they like upped and like they're super noisy now apparently. So
yeah, it's balls to the wall now. I mean, once you tripped, you kind of hit the alarm bell, and now like, oh my God, look, these guys are in here. Yeah, they've been there for a while.
Is anybody really surprised about SharePoint? For one. Number 2, I'm surprised Microsoft hasn't racketeered everybody off of on-prem already, or maybe they pushed everybody to the cloud and then everyone's just like, oh, I forgot about that server. Because why do we take care of people? Are, to your point, really good at adopting things, not really good at shutting them down.
No, yeah. And so that's one, I mean, right there is a perfect example. In my opinion, you not knowing that you have a server running is negligent.
I would agree.
But is it? I mean, in reality, is it? Is it prosecuted that way? Is it? No, it's not. It should be. And that's the accountability thing, right? We just continue to spin our wheels on this bullshit.
You could even climb up the ladder. Like, is Microsoft negligent for having vulnerabilities in their source code?
Yes, that's coming. That's coming too.
It's been talked about many times, but it's like, well, how do you hold developers accountable? Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you just hold the company. I mean, there's a lot of, at this point, we have so much code, so much reuse, so many bugs. I mean, yeah, we'll get there.
Well, I mean, eventually you have to get there, because there will be a day of reckoning. This is age-old wisdom type stuff. They say the chickens come home to roost. That's going to happen. And I'm not one of those doomsdayers, it's like, oh my God, we're all going to die kind of thing. But just logic would tell you if you continue to make shitty choices, eventually you're going to have to pay. That's how it works. So anyway, over 90 state and local governments were targeted alongside other global organizations. This is significant. This SharePoint ransomware campaign, it's significant due to the widespread use of SharePoint in enterprises and government. It potentially exposes sensitive data and disrupts critical services. Over the past week, so since we just talked last week, attackers exploited these Microsoft SharePoint flaws in a ransomware blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg. Not Craig, but blitzkrieg. Like
Blitzkrieg.
The World War II kind of thing.
Yeah.
So both public, private entities across the U.S. and abroad, variants are being deployed through stolen machine keys and DNS-based persistence. Microsoft did release mitigations, but threat actors are now using the flaws to create long-term footholds even after patching. So patching
is that a
isn't going to do it.
surprise? I mean,
No.
you said many times, like, it doesn't change. Get in, establish persistence, elevate, pivot. So the fact that they're maintaining a foothold, why is this even like,
Right.
oh my God, it's so earth shattering.
I'm telling you, man, that's the frustrating thing about, seeing it's like, oh yeah, it's like deja vu. It's like, what was that movie with Bill, the not the hedgehog, but the
Groundhog's Day?
Yeah.
Bill Murray?
It's like that. Yeah.
That's my birthday.
It seems like, the more I sit back and think about it now, I'm at this stage in my career where I'm able to step back a little bit and think more and reflect a little bit more. And it's like, I think it's been Groundhog Day for 30 fucking years.
That's crazy.
Except for it gets a little bit worse. So the what the fuck angle, SharePoint is the digital office water cooler, and now it's poisoning the punch with ransomware cocktails. Ooh. Comedic punchlines: patch your SharePoint or get shared with a ransom note. Matt, do you have another comedic punchline?
At this point, SharePoint's more of a threat actor than a collab tool. Nice.
That's what happens when your shit gets compromised. Yeah. All right, so what the fuck? Story number 2, Gen Z polyworking triggers new cyber risk minefield. So this is one of those words, when I saw it, I was like, what the fuck is polyworking?
Okay, so I wasn't the only one then.
No, when I saw the article, I was like, polyworking? That sounds stupid. But so I read it. So polyworking, also known as multi-employment or polyemployment, is the practice of holding multiple jobs or roles simultaneously. It's a trend gaining traction, particularly among younger generations, as it offers income diversification, career flexibility, and the ability to pursue diverse interests. While it can be a way to maximize earnings and gain experience, it also presents potential challenges like burnout and blurred boundaries. The blurred boundaries part is kind of the cybersecurity, I think, minefield piece. But when I read this definition, I'm like, that's just holding multiple jobs. Shit, I was doing that back in 1990. Yeah. I didn't call it polyworking. I called it working.
Yeah. I think it's just fucking clickbait. Like, I looked into, like,
right?
This doesn't mean anything. And it's like, they're trying, to me, it feels like it's a half-ass attempt to try and make security risk relevant. Because I don't believe that this is that big of a deal.
Well, according to Kaspersky.
Oh my God.
Right?
Thank
Gen
you,
Z's
Russia.
Gen Z's side hustle culture, multiple jobs, apps, and platforms is a growing attack surface. 6 million cyber attacks. I don't know where the fuck they came up with this number, but 6 million cyber attacks have exploited this polyworking lifestyle, with phishing and malware targeting distracted users across devices.
Sure.
Where did they come up with the 6 million?
From their endpoint fucking monitoring tool
Well,
touching a
exactly.
firewall.
So so you just touched on I think a really important thing in our industry. There's studies all the time like this, right? Studies and news things and shit, and you always have to use discernment and look at who sponsored it, right? So Kaspersky is saying like, oh my god, this Gen Z polyworking thing is a block thing. 6 million cyber attacks have exploited this shit. So get on your shit. Oh, and by the way, we sell endpoint stuff, and you might want to, we can help you mitigate that.
Yeah.
So, but I do agree with, logically, if my organization is handing out laptops or iPads or computing devices to employees, and those employees are using that same computing device to go work for another company to do multiple jobs on, yeah, that's an issue. That's a problem. But there's lots of ways I can handle that.
It's a corporate problem. I don't think it's a cyber risk issue, because if they're talking about it being complex and the multiple jobs and the things, like you already have Teams alerts, email alerts, Slack alerts, like you're already bombarded with enough shit. Like just adding more really make it worse, maybe. But it's more of like a manager thing, manage your people, and company protect your data type of thing.
Yeah, I think so. There's some of that. And then, I mean, do my end users have admin access to their systems?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
we've been
another.
preaching that shit since like 1840, that you shouldn't
Yeah.
do that, that, your users need to be users, and we need to control the devices that they're using. So if I've deployed properly secured mobile devices and laptops, they won't be able to work in another company with my laptop. They can't
Hmm.
install apps.
Right.
Probably locking down what websites they can go to. I mean, it depends on the user, of course, and what their role is. But it's not like, okay, here's your laptop. We'll send you the links to go install your stuff. I mean, if that's how you're doing it, then yeah, you kind of deserve this Gen Z poly working thing up your ass.
Polyworking. Yeah. I think they were just trying to play on the whole push of like poly relationships. That's
I
what
know, but
they.
you're going to hear it in one of these damn conferences you go to, or
Oh,
it's
they're
one of
probably talking
these.
about it at Black Hat already, probably.
Right, you're going to hear about it there. You're going to hear about it at the next ISSA get together, or IRC
Right.
squared get together. Like, oh, did you hear about this new poly working thing? Yeah,
I'm gonna be the one to bring it up.
it's like when they came out. It's like when they came out with cloud. Like,
Oh,
are you going to the cloud? Yeah, I've been using the fucking internet forever.
I just
I don't know.
picked my server up and I moved it here.
Right. All right. So the what the fuck angle on this one? It's not the hustle that's dangerous. It's the 5 open tabs and 3 work logins on one laptop. Comedic punchlines, poly working because 1 breach vector per job wasn't enough.
Gen Z is working 2 jobs and training 3 APTs without knowing it. Nice.
I like that one.
Because they're advanced threat actors, of course.
Right. Go after the Gen Zers. All right.
Yeah.
Number 3, social engineering reigns supreme again. Here we are again, 30 years, same shit, right? So Palo Alto Networks, Unit 42, which sounds so damn sexy, by the way, confirms that what Trench folks already know, the number 1 attack vector is still social engineering. From phishing and fake MFA requests to Slack impersonation, attackers are thriving on human error while orgs obsess over shiny tech.
So
Oh my
this
God,
one
here we are, 2025. Really?
this one has me
Newsflash.
intrigued. It has
How?
me
It's the same
intrigued
shit.
because they sell firewalls, right?
Yeah,
So it almost seems like they're doing this to try and get into the security awareness training market.
probably.
But yeah, again, the context. Who's saying it? Why are they saying it? These
Yeah.
guys sell firewalls. So it was
So what?
interesting that it wasn't like know before, or like a security training company. So I guess
Right.
that's a win, I guess.
That maybe. All right. So the what the fuck angle? We built zero trust networks, then handed the keys to anyone with a convincing email signature. Comedic punchlines. It's not zero trust if Dave clicks every link anyway.
Fishers don't need malware when Dave's willing to forward credentials for a $10 Starbucks card. Hey,
Dave.
vendors, stop inviting me to fucking webinars and stuff and giving me a $10 gift card. You just
Right.
mix this whole thing of good and bad together. It's terrible.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I got invited. What I get? I got a $50 Amazon gift card for some shit. And I was like,
Nice.
no, fuck off. All right. So number 4, Black Hat 2025. Dark Reading brings the news desk back. So they were gone for a little bit while, but they're back. So if you couldn't get to Vegas, no sweat. Dark Reading's news desk is back covering Black Hat USA 2025 with interviews, new threat research, and highlights from security leaders. Expect vendor swag and 0-day drama.
All right, I
And a
have
lot
a
of
beef
vendor
with
like
this.
vendor shit. Yeah. What do you got?
So you provide the link, and I went and looked at the agenda of day 2 or day 1 and day 2 of like who's talking on this thing.
Yeah.
This isn't a fucking news desk. It's a vendor sales platform.
I
Fuck
know.
out of here. There's like
That's why I haven't.
4 workers or researchers in this list. The rest is all vendor bullshit.
And even the research, man. I mean, this is like I used to go to Black Hat early on, back when people like Bruce Schneier were a breakout session. I mean, it was legit. You came away like, oh fuck, all right, I learned so much. I mean, you just felt like empowered when he came back from every Black Hat. And then it was like 2000, I don't know what year, maybe 12, 13, where I was like, this was the worst fucking Black Hat I've ever been to. All it was salesy shit. And then I went again for a couple more years, and then I was like, I'm done. I cannot go to this anymore. There was no longer. I mean, there's still some good shit. There's still some good research shit, but you have to find it. It's not gonna. I mean, it's so
It's tucked
just
away in a corner.
yeah. It's just so dirty, man. It's all salesy shit. So I won't go to Black Hat anymore. It's bullshit, really. Some of the training is good. You know, I think DEF CON is still pretty cool because they won't that culture won't buy into that shit like the Black Hat people do. I think we have like 28 people going to DEF CON
You have your whole
this year.
team that usually goes, right?
Yeah, they do a whole bunch of CTFs and shit. All right. Yeah, I agree with you. I was wondering if you're going to pick up on that, if you're actually going to click that link and see what was in there.
I trust your links 100%.
You can trust my links. Yeah, man. I got other things to do. So the what the fuck angle, where else can you get drunk at Caesars and still feel like a CISO? Answer, only Vegas. Comedic punchlines, Black Hat, come for the exploits, stay for the awkward vendor hugs.
I would say vendor ass grabs, but
Yeah, that happens.
if you didn't walk out of there with 3 t-shirts and 1 existential crisis, did you even Black Hat, bro?
Yeah, one existential crisis that you didn't know you had when you went in.
I'd never been to Black Hat or DEF CON. My companies don't. All the companies I've worked for never paid me to go, so I ain't going.
I'll go to DEF CON with you sometime if you want to go.
That'd be
I will
cool.
not go to Black Hat ever again.
I heard there was some drama this year around Black Hat DEF CON, though, about potentially, especially after last year. Like, it feels like it's getting pretty contentious.
It's getting content. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not a big fan of Dark Tangent either. Uh, that's a whole nother story.
All right.
But Dark Tangent is who started Black Hat
Ah, okay. We can
way
talk
back
about
when.
that sometime.
Then he
Yeah.
sold out. What What else? Oh, I want to do a conference down here, man. Still, I want to do Mexicon.
Mexicon, yes. I'm
And
all
I've been
about
trying to
it.
figure out like how would I do this? How could we do this in a way,
Logistically,
well, where no vendors, no vendor support whatsoever. So financially, you have to figure out a way to get that. You know what I mean? Because I don't want any vendors. I want security people to talk security shit. I want people to talk real. You know, I want us to solve some problems. I want us to come out of there, with shit to
so
do.
I'm just riffing here. I'm envisioning something similar to something I've seen developed last year. I think the thing CruiseCon was developed last year. I'm pretty sure that's like vendor heavy. But if you could do some sort of CruiseCon thing like that that drops you off in Mexico and then the vendors stay on the fucking boat.
I don't know. I'll figure it out at some
That'd be
point, or
cool.
we'll figure it out. All right, number 5, DARPA tests AI cyber reasoning in DEF CON competition. This one is interesting. I'm excited to see what comes of it. DARPA usually does some pretty cool shit. So DARPA is bringing AI decision making to the battlefield, or at least DEF CON, by judging 7 teams on autonomous cyber response skills. The first steps towards AI-driven defense. This is also called Welcome to the Party. You're late.
Yeah, right.
So the what the fuck angle, the future CISO might be a robot who calls out your config as amateur hour and might be a more effective CISO than the CISO you have today.
Possibly. Yep.
So comedic punchlines, AI in cyber defense. Someone finally built a partner that doesn't ask for a raise.
Nice. They'll love that. When AI says we need a policy, you know it's sentient.
Right. Yeah. If AI ever says, yeah, we need a policy, but what the fuck? This thing thinks for itself now.
That's crazy.
Now, 6, I caught wind of, and I was like, I've always been critical of CISA, as I should. I think we should all be critical of CISA. We should all be critical of all this shit, by the way. You should be critical of me. I should be critical of you. I mean, critical isn't a bad thing. We should be questioning each other. We should be challenging each other. We should be holding each other to account. That's how things get better. So number 6 is Army rescinds Jen Easterly's West Point appointment amid political outcry. So for those of you who don't know Jen Easterly, the name, she's the last director of CISA. So in this case, Army Secretary Dan Driscoll yanked the appointment. So she was already appointed, but yanked the appointment of Jen Easterly, the former CISA director, as distinguished chair at West Point. This came after pressure from political activists accused her of partisan influence during her tenure. Easterly responded that she was a casualty of quote unquote manufactured outrage. West Point is now reviewing how it brings in outside appointments. Now, I've been critical of CISA from the very beginning because my biggest fear about CISA actually came true. One of my biggest fears about CISA was that this was going to make information security, this was going to make cybersecurity a partisan issue. Prior to CISA, information security was always bipartisan. Everybody saw this together. So the first CISA director, I forgot his name right now. Hello. Krebs.
Oh,
So
Brian Krebs.
Not Brian Krebs, the other Krebs.
Oh, yeah.
So the first CISA director, he was, whatever, fired, blah, blah, blah. And then it kind of became a partisan thing. Then Jen Easterly, who I respect tremendously, right? She's a veteran. She's served her country very, very well. But before CISA's post-2020 posture, before that, you didn't see nearly as much cyber discussion bleeding into election narratives, online censorship debates, or political tribalism for better or worse, her tenure, whether she was the cause of it or not, she was in this leadership position. For better or worse, her tenure overlapped with some of the most heated moments in that space. And CISA often became the lightning rod. It was when, you remember that they were trying to put together this disinformation committee thing? Do you remember that? It was like, what the fuck is this? Right? I'm going to have the federal government tell me what information is true or not true. That's what I'm supposed to use my fucking brain for. I don't need somebody to tell me how to think. Right? So when that was coming about, and then thank God that fell apart pretty quickly. But one of the things that Jen Easterly said was, because she was challenged, I think, in a Senate committee meeting, your job is to protect critical infrastructure. And she said, well, the collective mind of the U.S. population is critical infrastructure, or something like that. So I'm paraphrasing. And when she said that, I was like, oh my God, you just said that out loud. That's crazy. So all of that, Jen Easterly, she's not going to get this appointment. Again, I'll say it again. I greatly respect the lady. I respect every veteran. I don't care if you're batshit fucking crazy. You're a veteran. You served our country, and God bless you and thank you. But in the private sector, when you took this role, I don't think you did a good job. I think you did a lot of things really good. I think you could have kept this bipartisan, and I think we lost that in cybersecurity. And I don't know how we're going to get that back. The what the fuck angle, this isn't just political theater. It's a conversation about how cybersecurity became political. And yeah, absolutely, Easterly helped make that happen.
So there's like a whole piece of this, right? They're like, oh, CISA is supposed to protect critical infrastructure. They're not protecting shit. They're just putting out, I mean, the big thing that you really see is they're putting out things, best practices on how to do things, which you should already know how to do.
Right.
So, like, I think this idea, and this might be why it got political, is the thought of they need to protect the critical infrastructure. Like, you need to protect your own shit. Like, the
Right.
energy companies, the gas company, like, you need to protect that. That's how the
Right.
company or the country is designed to run, right? Like, run your own states, do your own thing. The government shouldn't have to come in and run it for you.
Well, and why didn't CISA foster conversations about what we're going to be talking about in this accountability series?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That would help.
And I'll tell you why. I mean, I think I know why. One, information security is not an election issue, which is coming up in one of the series. Two, the big tech companies are so integrated. Yeah, there's so much money.
Cash money.
Just look for people, any listener, just Google JCDC and see who sits in JCDC. It's Microsoft, it's Palo Alto, it's, these guys are the cause of a lot of our problems, right? We're going to talk about that, in a later series too. So if CISA really wanted to fix the problems in our industry, well, then fix the fucking problems. Stop treating the symptoms and actually get to the root of the problems. So anyway, comedic punchlines. Cyber was nonpartisan until it got drafted into the culture war.
When your resume reads CISA director, but half the country reads Twitter cop, your next gig might not be so secure.
Yeah. I wrote that one myself. You're welcome.
Nice.
All right. So real talk on that. Easterly brought energy and visibility to CISA, but also blurred the line between security and politics. Information security is not a fucking political issue. It should never be a political issue. I will work just as hard I don't give a fuck if you're Democrat, Republican, transgender, male, female, Trump's. I don't give a fuck. Security is security. And that's the way it should work. Right? So I think we lost that anyway. So before 2020, cybersecurity wasn't getting dragged into election fights or online censorship drama. Afterward, it was front and center. Leadership sets the tone, and under her watch, the tone turned divisive. Accountability means owning that too. So you can't claim the moral high ground in cyber while throwing fuel on the political fire. If we want public trust, we need public servants who build bridges, not broadcast battle lines. All right, so that's the what the fuck segment. The conclusion this week, Jen Easterly's West Point. I keep saying wet point. That's weird. Jen Easterly's West Point invite gets yanked because of ideological noise. SharePoint's still the hacker's playground. Gen Z's polyworking is now a misconfigured risk zone. And Dave's clicking phishing links again. Add AI playing armchair CISO, and you've got a perfect storm. If accountability really lived on at the top, boardrooms should be asking, why are politics controlling education, and why are adversaries controlling everything else? Holy moly. All right, segment 2, CISO humor. The title for this one this week, Matt, is Accountable, Burnout, and Underfunded. So welcome back to the CISO Therapy Hour, where your budget's a rounding error, your tools don't talk to each other, and your blame folder's always full. You might be a CISO if you just got blamed for a breach in a system you didn't know existed until yesterday.
You might be a CISO if your CEO says we're all accountable and then CCs you on the post-mortem.
That may have happened once. All right, you might be a CISO if you've got 24 dashboards, 3 risk platforms, 1 therapist, and 0 sleep. Real quote of the week. I got asked if we had quantum-resistant encryption. I said we still don't have working single sign-on.
Yeah, but we need that quantum resistance, bro.
We do. We do need quantum resistance. Absolutely. All right, so Auditor Theater presents the policy violation that wasn't. Imagine this scene. A cold conference room with 1 flickering fluorescent bulb. There's coffee. It's terrible. Matt's the auditor. I'm the CISO.
So, Evan, during our review of SOC 2, we noticed a log retention discrepancy. Your policy says 90 days. Your Splunk dashboard's only telling me 88. What gives?
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing. Someone cut our storage budget, and we had to delete logs from the 2 days that these interns accidentally indexed TikTok.
But still, like, that's a policy violation, technically.
Is it, though? I mean, come on. Or is it a cry for help in JSON format?
Well, can you provide evidence that this deviation was properly documented, risk assessed, and approved by governance?
Look, man, I mean, I can provide evidence that I haven't slept since the Okta outage.
We'll need compensating controls then.
I've got a shrine to Saint NIST 800-53 and a punching bag named Legacy Tech Debt. Will that work?
I think we're going to have to escalate this to moderate unless you can prove you mitigated the risk.
Matt, the only thing I mitigate now is my own will to scream.
Understood. Let's move on to change management.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
And that's how it usually goes.
Yep. All right, so jokes from the trench. How about a few jokes? It's that time. Matt, you lead us off.
They asked, who was accountable for the breach? I said, everyone. They said, cool. So just you then?
Oh, my God. Yes, that's me. All right, joke number 2. My board said we need more proactive security. So I installed a trap door in our SOC 2 or in our SOC that drops vendors into a pit of NDAs and unmet SLAs.
That one was awesome when I read it. I need to make one of those. Our intern opened a fish that took down half the network. The CEO said, let's not overreact. It's a learning opportunity. So I sent him a fake invoice for 3.4 mil.
I would love to do that. All right, last joke. They said, we want accountability, not blame. I said, great. Then fire the CEO. Awkward silence followed.
Ooh. snap.
I didn't get invited back to that meeting either. All right, Matt, here's your CISO therapy affirmation. Repeat after me. I am not my SIEM alerts.
I'm not my sim alerts.
I am not my patch compliance report.
I'm not my patch compliance report.
I am a rational human being whose job description now includes sacrificial lamb.
I'm a rational human being, and my job description now says I'm a sacrificial lamb.
There you go. All right. Closing soundbite. Leadership says we need transparency until someone asks why MFA still isn't enforced on payroll. Stay tuned because up next, we're blowing the lid off accountability in cybersecurity and who's really wearing the target. That leads us to our main topic and back to accountability is broken, part 1. This is the soul of episode 42. So we're bringing the fire, the facts, and the fallout. All right, deep breath. It's time to get surgical, Matt. Yep. This is the kickoff to our 6-part series, Accountability in Cybersecurity is Broken. And tonight, part 1, is it really broken? I've already mentioned,
yeah,
spoiler alert. Yes, sir, it is. So why does this matter? Because I think there's this like general sense of ignorance, like ignorance is bliss. Everything is fine. I love my new Apple thing and my new Meta thing and my new whatever the fuck thing. Why does it matter? Breaches happen, systems fail, the headlines pile up, but when it's time to figure out who's accountable, who's actually responsible for the damage, and you may not feel the damage, you may not see the damage. That leads us to next week when we talk about it doesn't hurt enough, but it will. It really will. I mean, logic brings you there. So who's actually responsible for the damage? We get a game of musical chairs, and the chairs are all on fire. CISOs get scapegoated, engineers get blamed, consultants get ghosted, and the people
Don't
who
forget the
approve
intern.
oh,
Don't
damn, I'm
forget
not
the
even going to
intern.
talk about the intern. And the people who approved the budgets ignored the risk registers and prioritized business enablement, quote unquote, over security. They get a quote in the press release and a round of golf. This isn't just
It's
frustrating, it's toxic as hell. And if we don't fix it, truly, we're just going to keep repeating the same shit show, breach after breach.
it's hard to even get time to talk about a risk register. I mean, half the time you probably got to do education about what it is and what its purpose is first. Then trying to go through it where it's got like, you know, all sorts of like 10,000 items or 100 items in there. Like, good fucking luck.
Right. Right. Well, and why does, I mean, and you, again, you can't really blame the board so much. I mean, this isn't like, I was trying to be careful when I wrote this blog post that and started this series that I don't want to put all the blame on CEOs, all the blame on boards of directors. They have a lot of shit on their mind. They have a lot of shit that they need to do. The system that we've set up, it's a systemic problem. The system that we've set up and the system that we're all working within doesn't hold them accountable. If you actually held a board member personally liable for a shitty choice, a shitty decision when it comes to cybersecurity, watch how quickly all the other boards get in line. I mean, it would be like overnight, but we haven't set it up that way, you know. And so, I mean, I just think of myself like I'm the CEO of where I was the CEO of a company. I guess I'm the owner of a company or two, and I mean, if there's nobody holding me accountable, it's not like you go out of your way looking for shit to be held accountable for. But then when you talk about it, you're like, yeah, fuck, I should be held accountable for that. Why aren't I being held accountable for that? You know, it's just it's really a broken system. And that's why, you know, the other 5 parts of this series are to talk about why it's broken. The root causes of why it's broken, the root causes of that lead to the fact that you can't hold the CEO accountable or a board of directors accountable. I mean, going back to the Target breach, right? The Target breach, Greg Steinhoffel was the CEO at the time of that breach in 2013. That happened right around Christmas time. It got in all the news. It was like, oh my God, the worst thing ever, blah, 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 whatever the fuck. Greg Steinhoff lost his job, but it wasn't because of the data breach. He lost his job because they really fucked up entering into the Canada market. Target was trying to open up stores in Canada because Walmart's there. I mean, right? You got to expand. And they spent millions and millions of dollars trying to establish a presence in Canada, and that went to complete shit. So he was already on the chopping block. The breach, well, this is just convenient now. But that was it. The CIO, which was Beth Jacobs at the time, she lost her job. But, you know, that's not the board. That's not the CEO. She's the CIO. Right? And she sucked at her job anyway, so it's goodbye, Beth. I don't know if she's still around. She's probably still working somewhere. She's probably like in a Fortune 100 company, and I don't suck. We did then. I don't know if you unsucked over the last 15 years or so, but anyway. So let's talk some data here. And this is part of the laying the foundation for this series is it's broken. Accountability is broken in our industry. We're not going to dissect why it's broken. That takes a whole nother 5 series, right? That's 5 more podcasts where we have to talk about that. This is just demonstrating that it is broken. So there was, you know, last couple of years ago, there was a poll by the Cybersecurity Hub that they put out on LinkedIn. And they asked who is ultimately responsible for cybersecurity in an organization. That's quote unquote. I'll say it again. Who is ultimately responsible for cybersecurity in an organization? And when they did it last, 3-4 years ago, whenever that was, it irked the shit out of me. And it surprised me so much that I went and talked to some lawyers, not friends, but acquaintances. And I asked them the same question. And it wasn't at all the same answer that the LinkedIn poll got. And then I kind of let it go. And I think it was you, Matt, who sent me the latest one, which was only 3 weeks ago. They did another LinkedIn poll, Cybersecurity Hub, and same question. Who is ultimately responsible for cybersecurity in an organization? You had 4 choices. The 4 choices are CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, the board of directors, the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, or other. I don't know what other is. Other is, I'm guessing the 5% who said other we're all responsible. And anybody who knows shit about accountability and responsibility, anytime you say we're all responsible, that actually means nobody's fucking responsible. Because you can't wring everybody's neck. When shit hits the fan, you have to have somebody's neck to wring. Somebody is responsible for shit hitting the fan. And we can't all be responsible because I can't wring everybody's fucking neck. Right? And that's like this, what do you call that? It's like an out. It's like the ultimate, nobody's responsible is to say everybody's responsible.
Scapegoat, or
yeah. So the question
is this the right question? So I think you're going to talk about responsibility and accountability and the difference and stuff.
But let's get back to the poll.
I keep getting confused. Yeah. Okay.
The results of this poll. So who's ultimately responsible for cybersecurity in the organization? 55%, and there were 7,755 last time I looked responses to this poll. And being that it came from the Cybersecurity Hub, I'm guessing that most of the people that responded to this were information security people. And even if they weren't, whatever, 55% said the CISO. 21% said the board of directors. 19% said the CEO. 5% said other. Now I'm trying to sugarcoat this a little bit, but that's fucking insane. That's not, I can't even sugarcoat it. It's what? That's not, no, this isn't how it works. So then I tried to like give a benefit of the doubt. Okay, let's say maybe some people read this as who is being held ultimately responsible. You know, because you've got the people say, well, who should be ultimately responsible or who is being held, who is ultimately responsible. So if you interpret it that way, yeah, probably 55% the CISO is being held responsible, but that's not who's supposed to be ultimately responsible for cybersecurity in an organization. The CISO might own the operations, but they don't own the organization. They don't decide. You and I know who decides what gets funded, prioritized, and ignored. It's the top, the CEO, the board, the owner. That's where accountability lives, or it should.
But
You
the
can
question
delegate
isn't about.
responsibility. You can't delegate accountability, which leads to the next point. I think you were going to ask about the difference between responsibility and accountability.
Right. So like the question confuses me, I think. Like who's responsible, right? You can delegate responsibility. So if the board is delegating responsibility of cyber to the CISO, that's possible. They can't delegate the authority of it, but they could delegate the responsibility of it.
But the word that makes it that flips the responsibility
Ultimately.
to exactly, that's what makes it accountability.
Oh, right, because it's so they're making the question more confusing. Yeah.
And maybe people didn't read that right too.
Hmm.
But I think it's worth saying because when the sad thing is the results of that poll mirror what you see in everyday life, right? Okay, the right answer, by the way, who's ultimately responsible for cybersecurity in an organization? The right answer is the board. So only 21% got it right. 79% got it wrong. Giving the benefit of the doubt, maybe they read it as, well, I read it as who is ultimately responsible, not who should be ultimately responsible. So I'll give you that. And there are some who, like you, Matt, what you brought up, well, responsibility versus accountability. So I read ultimate responsibility as just being responsible, not ultimate responsibility flipping to accountability because you put the word ultimately there. So semantics, I get it. But I still think, you know, when you look at the industry as it is, there's lots of confusion on who's fucking accountable for this.
I agree, and I think there's a whole nother dynamic to this question that doesn't get acknowledged. I would say the majority population on LinkedIn is going to be your startups, your founders, or your salespeople. The majority of your actual practitioners are not on LinkedIn, they're hiding because it's gross.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
the ones that are my guess, I could be wrong. My guess would be the ones that are responding to this are the salespeople that want to talk to the CISO because they think that they approve the stuff.
Yeah, I mean that might be another take, but look at across the industry and you talk to your peers, and you know, from my perspective, you know, consulting enough organizations over the years and talking to our teams, it's it reflects what reality is. That boards of directors and CEOs are not being held accountable for information security. And so I think we've confused in this question and just in general, we've confused responsibility and accountability. And the difference is responsibility is doing the work. Accountability is owning the income or the outcome. Also owning the income because they usually make more money. But okay, so responsibility, doing the work, accountability, owning the outcome. You can delegate responsibility, you can't delegate accountability, and yet we do it every damn day. Regardless of what the poll said, and regardless of, you know, discussing how you may have interpreted that question, you see it. Breach after breach after breach. Is anybody held accountable? If somebody is held accountable, where does it lie? It usually lies with the CISO or a security person or somebody, right? It rarely lies with the CEO, rarely lies with the board of directors.
I'm sorry.
What's that?
We'll do better next time.
Yeah, exactly. So we do it every damn day, and let's call it what it is. It's leadership theater. Quote, unquote, we value cybersecurity, yet you cut the budget. You skip
Every
the
year.
tabletop. You skip the tabletop exercise. You ignore every damn recommendation. I can't even get fucking FaceTime with you. You don't even read my emails, right? So we value cybersecurity. It's lip service. And then the breach hits. When the breach hits, quote, we're disappointed. We'll learn. We're committed to moving forward. The translation, it wasn't me. It was a damn security person, whatever. The problem here is somebody pays the price. Information security is about people. If it wasn't about people, if people didn't suffer when we do shit wrong, we wouldn't even be here. There'd be no sense in us even doing this work if nobody suffered if data was compromised, but people do suffer when data is compromised. And you give like this false sense of security, right? Where as long as the general population, it doesn't hurt too much, they don't ask too many questions, they don't dig too deep, they'll keep doing business with us. They did the same thing in this with credit and debit cards, the whole payment card industry. There's a whole reason why the United States was way late to the game with chip and pin. Europe had already been chip and pin a couple of years ahead of us. And it wasn't until, ironically, not long after the Target breach, because not long after the Target breach, there was the Home Depot breach. That pretty much tipped the scales because now we've lost consumer confidence. Now consumers won't use our fucking cards anymore. They finally called our bluff. So now we have to go chip and pin. Why didn't you go chip and pin 2 years ago, like the Europeans did? It's a question, I guess, for the payment card industry. But that's kind of the same thing that happens.
Because I was already PCI compliant.
Right. Yeah, Target had their papers in order, that's for sure. But people pay a price. Who pays the price? Here's the part that no one talks about. They don't talk about it enough. It's not the executives. They don't pay the price. They don't lose their jobs. They still get their bonuses. Things are fine. It's not the vendors. They capitalize on the fears, keep selling their shit, regardless of whether you can afford it, regardless of whether or not it actually works, regardless on whether or not it's where you're supposed to spend your next information security dollar, regardless of whether or not you can even use the shit, whether you even have the maturity to know how to configure it. So it's not the vendor who pays the price. It's not even the regulators. They love the false sense of security because you got to be compliant. Who pays the price? It's the people. People. All of us, the users, the patients, the employees. I was talking to my cousin while I was on our vacation, and he was asking me about, information security and a little bit about this topic. And I've had to sit across the table from executives of businesses knowing that in an incident response, knowing that this business isn't going to survive. It's not going to survive this breach. In that case, fine. Maybe the executive paid the price. But worse, so did all your employees. Right? When you have to pay a ransom of, say $1 million. That's $1 million you can't pay your employees. It's $1 million you can't provide better benefits for them. And there's a lot. That's got $1 million has to come from somewhere. So I mean, it's always the people who pay the price. It's the ones whose data gets sold, whose identities get abused, and who never even knew they were part of the risk calculation. That's who pays the price. They pay while the board moves on. That's not broken. That's fucked. Matt, what say you?
I agree.
I agree. I concur, Doctor
I
Doctor
concur.
Dr. Francine. You may continue with your diagnosis. All right. So
I
what
mean,
this
there's
series
not
will
much else to. I mean, I'm 100% on your belief track here. It just seems logical to me.
well, here's the thing, man. I'm so like behind corporate America. I'm a fucking capitalist. I really am. I mean, I think hard work you should be able to make as much money as you want. It's how you make the money. It's, did you take advantage of other people to get where you're at? If you did, then fuck off. And there's too much of that. I think the information security industry is just ripe for it. It's been ripe for it for a long time. And there's been no consequences, for the shitty choices.
It's almost like, what is the saying? Data is the new oil. So why would we protect it if we can just keep letting it go and getting paid? Whether
Well, that's
that's
another thing
through
that pisses me
backdoor
off too.
deals or whatever.
That's something that pisses me off too, by the way. At least you know what oil's worth, right? I mean, it's on the fucking market, right? I don't know, $80 a barrel, $90 a barrel, whatever the fuck it is now. Data, what's that worth? Why haven't we even taken the time to put a value to data? My data, by the way, Matt's data,
Well,
the listeners'
uh,
data,
whatever that fucking data breach was.
Alpanamon,
No,
who?
like
Oh,
the credit company. They were gonna give you like
Equifax.
Equifax like $12 or whatever the fuck in their settlement you could have gotten. I guess that's what your identity is worth. But
Well,
it's
here's the
on the
thing, man. I
black
mean,
market for like $80 or whatever.
companies are making billions and billions and billions of dollars trading my data, trading your data,
Hmm.
but it doesn't show up on any balance sheet. So shouldn't it? I don't know.
It should, I think.
All right. So what this series will cover. So if this is just the kickoff, we've got 5, parts to this. And here's where we're headed. So part 1 will be, is it really broken? That's tonight. And I don't know how you can make a case that it's not broken, accountability. And we talked a lot about, we really didn't do a lot of finger pointing, but I don't want to do finger pointing right now. I want to do the finger pointing more at the system, more at us than calling out individual people. Like CEOs aren't fucking evil. There's evil ones for sure. Boards of directors aren't evil. Owners of businesses aren't evil. It's just, why is the system set up in a way that we don't hold them accountable for shitty choices? I think until you get a system, because number one, you'd have to like, hey, CEO person, if you make this choice, this is a shitty choice. And here will be the consequence for said choice. That's how you need to make it. So like start with something simple, like if you don't have an asset inventory, you're negligent. There you go. One thing. That's where you start. So your shitty choice is, well, I choose not to have an asset inventory. Well, then suffer the consequences for that. Right? I mean, that you need to start off like very simple, very basic, and then walk people towards what this all means. Because sadly, I think we've adopted new technology much faster than our ability to use it responsibly. So the ball's pretty far down the road right now. So we have to kind of work our way toward it. So part 1, is it really broken? Part 2, next week, it's not real until it hurts. Why nothing changes until someone bleeds. And this is really about, people don't realize it hurts. I mean, nobody's demanding change. the general population, everyday people aren't screaming for change. Should they be? I think they should, but it doesn't hurt. Not enough. But if you take this into context, I mentioned in 2005 was the first breach notification that I received from Choice Point. Here we are in 2025. What we've done is we've made just a series of small compromises over a long period of time. And if you were to take from where we were at in 2005 and just in one day take us to 2025 and what we're dealing with today, you'd be outraged. But that's not how it happened. It happened these little steps.
Slow.
I think when you put it in, when you put it into context, and then will the chickens come home to roost? And if so, what would that look like?
I mean, it's because everything that everyone's been saying, like all the OGs, yourself included, like it happens.
It's going to hurt. It's going to fucking hurt. And my job and the whole reason why I'm in this industry is to serve people. I don't want fucking people to get hurt. I don't. I hate it. Even the people I don't like, that's my job. So anyway, that's part 2. Part 3 is cyber doesn't win elections, political will and leadership apathy. So we're going to explore in that, because that's another one of the root causes. We're going to explore in that part why the laws suck in this industry. And we'll go kind of deep into that. Part 4, breach, jackpot. How the legal and insurance systems reward failure. The legal system, the legal community, lawyers get rich as fuck off of breaches. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And then we'll get to the rest of that on part 4. Part 5, selling fear. Vendors cash in on chaos instead of solving it. That's another one of our root causes. Nobody holds them accountable. We have vendors selling shit all the time. That sucks. And you don't know any different because you didn't do any damn research on the shit and you just bought the shit.
Well,
like Microsoft. Seriously.
I'm the one that's making all these vendors better. I swear to God. Like, I got to ask these questions like, why is this like this? Why doesn't this work? You have an API. What does it do? I don't know. Well,
in what other industry can you think of? In what other industry can you think of where you create a product that's flawed? I buy it, not knowing that it's flawed, not all these flaws. I suffer consequences for your flaws in your shitty product, and I'm held accountable for it, not you. You sold the shitty product. Yeah. Not just that, but then it's also my responsibility to fix your shitty product. Like you come up with a patch and I have to, why the fuck didn't you apply the goddamn patch? Why the fuck am I applying the patch?
Right.
It's your product.
Well, that's why they want everything to be SaaS now, so they can apply the patch for you.
Well, then fine. Then what's the trade-off? Are you actually going to take accountability? Are you actually going to take accountability?
Pay a monthly subscription fee. That's the trade-off.
No, I mean the trade-off meaning what are you going to give me in return?
Oh. No, I just answered your question. You're going to pay me more in subscription.
Right.
That's the answer.
So that's part 5. That'll be selling fear. We'll get deep into that. And then part 6, the thing is about people, we're addicted to the short term. We have short memory spans. We go quarter to quarter. Like there's a lot of consequences that come with that short term thinking when information security really is long term thinking. It's habitual. You have to create good information security habits. It's a life skill. It's not in the moment, this quarter skill, right? So we're going to talk about that. So those are what I think are the 5 root causes. And I think if you attacked these 5 root causes and made changes here, I think we'd have accountability in the industry and we'd all be better off for it. And maybe we could avoid the chickens coming home to roost.
I agree.
So each one is a bullseye and a broken piece of the accountability puzzle. Riff from the front lines. I've seen boards that would rather review brand guidelines than security metrics. I'm not even going to go into the fact that usually the security metrics that they've been suck
Oh,
anyway.
shit.
But I've
Gartner,
had it
top right quadrant.
right. And this is true. I've had execs ask me and or legal, because we're usually in the room at the same time, can we delay the breach disclosure until after earnings?
That just sounds shady as fuck.
It happens all the time. And I've watched CISOs get chewed up, thrown out, and replaced like that was the fix. No, that's the distraction. That's cowardice dressed up as leadership. If your cybersecurity fails, it's not a tech problem. That's a leadership failure. The real fix starts here. This episode is your wake up call. It's not about blame. It's about owning the damn thing. You want change? Start by looking up, not down. Boards, CEOs, owners, you want the title, you take the fall. Let's bring it home. Let's bring it home with no holds barred. Segment 4, broken industry fix list. This one goes straight for the juggler of weak leadership, finger pointing, and not my job culture. You ready for it, Matt?
I like it.
What's this one titled? This broken industry fix list.
Yeah. Accountability.
Stop passing the buck.
Oh. Okay. Gotcha.
Stop passing the buck, man.
I'm passing it back to you, man.
All right. Welcome to the Broken Industry Fix List, where we stop band-aiding bullshit and start fixing what's actually broken. The problem, accountability is a ghost.
When it fails, we all know that it will fail, but we don't seem to know who's supposed to own it.
That's the truth, man. We just visited that.
Yeah.
So the answer you get depends. So who is supposed to own it? The answer you get depends on who you ask. The board says it's the CISO. The CISO says they've been warning the board for years. The vendors say, not our fault. You didn't configure it right. The regulator says, here's a fine. Maybe. And the users, they just get breached.
They don't even know half the time.
I know. Poor people. Everyone points fingers. No one steps up. This isn't an org chart issue. It's a courage issue. So what the fuck are we doing? At promoting CEOs who dodge responsibility like it's a sport.
Well, so I think this whole dodging it like a sport is to what you were saying earlier. How did this get politicized? Because that's all politics is, never answering the question, dodging around everything. So politics just fucking suck the life out of it.
Yeah, totally true. Firing CISOs to show decisive action while keeping the same broken priorities, making policies that say security is everyone's responsibility. Every time I read that, every time I read everyone's responsibility, what it means in my mind is it's nobody's responsibility.
So you're having me really think a lot about that, because I've said that before and it's really making me think now. Cool.
Good. Yeah, I mean, challenging each other. And it'd be interesting, you know, after you, I mean, I love that, right? We should all be thinking. And when you come to some conclusions about what you've been thinking, I want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear where you landed on that, because, you know, I love counterpoints too, right? Or either counterpoints, different perspectives, or validation. Because there's a lot of times in this industry when you're looking at the way things are going and you're like, what the fuck are we doing? And then you start bringing things up and then you're like, am I crazy? I mean, this seems so obvious that we have an accountability problem in the industry, yet why aren't we doing anything?
Yeah.
You start to think that you're crazy. And then, so then when somebody like takes a look at it and like they do their thinking, they're like, no, man, I think you're right. It's like, okay, good. At least two of us are crazy then. All right. So celebrating executives who manage risk by pretending it doesn't exist. Here's a real world glitch. I sat in a post-breach meeting once where the CEO looked around and said, let's not point fingers. And you know what that means? We're definitely pointing fingers. But only at people who can't fight back. They fired the CISO, hired a PR firm, released a non-apology.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but not really. And they still didn't fix the controls we flagged 6 months later. That CISO, truly, he was a friend. He still is a friend, but was meaning he was the CISO. And the kicker, he had a deck, a beautiful, painful PowerPoint deck that literally predicted the exact failure, and nobody listened.
Hmm.
That happens. That did happen. That's personal.
I had something similar, not like breach related, but like technology related. Like, look at this thing, do an analysis, let's simplify it because it's going to break. That was 4 months ago, and it just recently broke. It's like, okay then.
Right. And the part that sucks too is like you predicted it, you followed all the right steps, it was in your slide deck, which slide decks in a lot of times board meetings becomes part of the board packet, so they have it there, they read it, they saw it, or at least they had every opportunity to do it, and you did a great job by warning them about this thing, and then you lose your job when the thing happens. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So the fix, real accountability equals top-down ownership. If we're serious about fixing this industry, we need to rewire what accountability means. At some level, we have to get on the same fucking page with this, because if we don't fix the accountability problem, we're all just going to continue doing the things, and we can keep collecting paychecks and live, fine lives and everything. But if that's not the purpose of why you're in this industry, if you're actually in this industry to make things better for other people, if you're in this industry to actually serve other people, to protect other people, then we have to fix the fucking accountability problem.
Well,
We have
it's
to.
like you said earlier, right? We advise, carry out the risk decisions. So if we advise and do what you tell us to do, how are we getting fired? It's just not logical. It's
Because nobody's holding the
illogical.
right. And so what it takes is, I think, the village to put this thing in the right, fix the system, to make it known, to have laws written, compliance, whatever it is that drives. And we'll talk about this throughout the rest of the series and talk about possible solutions to these things. But it can't be me as the CISO working in an organization. I could do all the right things and still get fired. It's not my fault. I got fired because the system's busted. But the only way you fix the system is us working together to fix the system. So at least when I get, because I haven't, it's been a long time since I've been fired, but in that same situation, there are times when you get fired and you're like, yeah, I fucked up. I should have been fired. I should have done a better job. And there are times when you're fired when, like, you did shit right. And the first one, I don't sleep as well. The second one, I sleep like a fucking baby. And I think, that's it, right? There are things that are so much more important than just your job. And I get it. And when you're deep in the shit, like your job, you're paying the bills, all that shit is like super duper important. But in context, it's really not that big a deal. It just seems like a really big fucking deal. I mean, I learned this like when I lost my house, after I started FR Secure. In the middle of that, yeah, it was fucking the biggest deal ever right now. In context, looking back, it wasn't that big a fucking deal.
Knowing where
Just,
you end up and stuff, right?
well, knowing, you just keep pushing towards your own purpose. You keep pushing towards, your own personal growth, and, trusting that as long as I continue to do the right thing, I'm going to be okay. Whereas if I was a CISO who sold out and wasn't doing the right thing, I don't think there's any amount of money that you could pay me to make me feel like I'm doing okay. I mean, I would rather be doing the right things, having integrity, and live in a cardboard fucking box than, selling my soul and living, in a huge mansion. But I do believe that if you know, I think I try to live a life that, like, as a person of integrity who has money. I didn't take any advantage of a single fucking person to get here. You know, yeah, there was ups and downs, hard times, shit like that. But yeah, you end up all right. And if I would have been fine. I don't think I would have sold out even if I would have been in a cardboard box, which I was pretty close to when I lost my house. So anyway, the real fix, real accountability, top-down ownership. If we're serious about fixing this industry, and we need to get serious, otherwise it just stop bitching then. I'll keep bitching because I want to fix the damn industry.
Right.
But we need to rewire what accountability means. And these are 4 things I think, we can take this from this episode and carry that into, the future episodes. So number 1, leadership owns risk decisions. If they say no to controls or budget, they own the risk, not the ops folks who clean up the mess. I don't own risk in any company except for the companies that I run. Boards must be cyber literate, not cyber aware, not briefed, responsible, cyber aware. They understand money. They understand compliance. They understand legal. Those are all risks that they have to account for when they run the business. You need to also understand cyber. That's another risk that you need to account for. So they need to be cyber literate.
So they need more people, tech people on the board.
Or just learn the basics. It's not even tech, right? To learn the basics. I mean, you don't have to know how to fucking configure a firewall to know the basics.
But you still have to understand like what they're asking for. Like if a CISO's asking me for $10 million to implement a firewall project, I'd be like, what fucking firewalls are you buying? That sounds like a waste of money.
I wouldn't even think that would need to go to the board.
Right, but
that should get headed off at the past. But I think what every board should be asking is, what's the current state of my information security program? Mm-hmm. What's the future state? When am I going to get there, and how much is it going to cost? And if you want to know a bonus question, and however you decide to represent that, right? It needs to be represented in some metric, some form of risk. And then I think a bonus question is, what's our most significant unacceptable risk right now? And what are we doing about it? But what you get from most boards is they don't ask those questions, I think, because they don't want to sound stupid. Those aren't questions that they feel empowered. I mean, they're empowered to ask any fucking question they want. They're the board, but they don't feel empowered, like from a literacy standpoint, to ask those questions. And that's what I'm saying, that boards need to be cyber literate. CISOs need teeth, reporting lines to the board, decision power, legal protection. CISOs need teeth.
Rawr.
Rawr. Security failures need real consequences at the top, not just firing the messenger. And we're going to dig into all that shit, as we get through this series. Here's the actionable challenge for anybody who's listening this week. If you got the balls, I suppose women don't really have balls, but if you got the gumption,
fortitude,
if you got the fortitude, the gumption in you, ask your CEO, board chair, or top executive the same question: who's ultimately accountable? Notice I changed the word from accountable to responsible to accountable. But this is a question to ask, and I think it's a legitimate question. And, and a lot of it is the way you ask it, right? Like, well, who's ultimately accountable? I mean, that's probably not going to go over too well, but say, hey, I want to, contribute as much as I can to the mission of this company because I really dig this company. My part of the world is, information security, cybersecurity. Who is ultimately accountable for cybersecurity risk decisions here? Because I want to align with that and see what the answer is. I mean, every culture is different, but figure out the right way to ask that question. That's the actionable challenge. If they say everyone, I wouldn't challenge it right then and there unless you have that kind of, relationship with the CEO. Uh, but if they say everyone, you and I both know that means no one. I didn't ask, does everyone have responsibilities? I didn't ask, is everyone accountable? I ask who's ultimately accountable. Where does the shit flow? And if you do feel comfortable to do it, push back, challenge the narrative. And if you're the CISO yourself, document everything, because someday you may need to prove you weren't the one asleep at the wheel. All right, we're almost done with this episode. If your CEO gets credit for quarterly wins, they better take the fall for security losses. You don't get the throne without the sword.
Those fucking golden parachutes.
I know, right? Cybersecurity is about protecting people, not careers, not reputations, people. And until leadership starts owning that truth, nothing changes. Stop passing the buck, stand up, own your shit. And if you're not ready to do that, get the hell out of the way for someone else, for someone who is. That's what we need. That's the fucking leadership.
You need to follow before you can lead.
Take your fucking lumps, man. I mean, that's where wisdom comes from. It's experience with pain. Mm-hmm. Shit. You want some wisdom? Go get it. All right, so let's close this episode. That's a wrap for episode 42 of InfoSec to Insanity, the start of something big, bold, and way overdue. Tonight, we called it what it is. Cybersecurity accountability is broken, and not in a needs improvement kind of way. It's shattered. It's upside down. It's a system that punishes. Yeah, it's a system that punishes practitioners while giving power players a pass. And that's the first step in fixing it, owning the truth, right? That's why, like, step one in recovery is supposed to be like admitting you have a problem.
Maybe the industry is recovering. Like, I thought about this before.
We're all drunk.
Like, they're drunk on power and money because it's just free flowing. But, like, to your point, like, how long did it take the car industry before they had laws about seatbelts and airbags and stuff? It took a while.
Yeah.
50, 60. But, I mean, we're only like really 30 years old, 40 years old. It's not that old in the grand scheme.
But what it took was people to step up. Mm-hmm. People had to step up. That's what we're doing, right? When you're in the game for the right reasons, you want people to do shit right. Especially when you can do it right. It's not like you're going to lose a shitload of money by doing things right unless you're Microsoft. You might lose a whole shitload of money because you've been doing it wrong for so fucking long. But anyway, the first step in owning it fixed is owning the truth. So if you're a CISO out there getting blamed for what the board wouldn't fund, this one's for you. If you're a leader who actually gives a damn, take this episode and bring it to your executive team. And if you're a vendor using fear, uncertainty, and doubt to dodge your own role in this mess, maybe sit this one out and rethink your roadmap.
I need more things.
We're not stopping here. Right.
I don't need it to work. I just need more buttons and things, man. Give me more features.
Right. Aye. So coming up next week, accountability part 2. It's not real until it hurts. In part 2, we're diving into the hard truth that nothing ever changes in this industry until pain makes it personal.
I mean, if you're talking about like nothing ever changes, I tell people on my team all the time, go and read this book called The Cuckoo's Egg. I mean, they're talking about cyber attacks in the 80s. And what is it? Identity. And like, hidden accounts, unused accounts, and that kind of thing. And now we're like, identity is the new perimeter. Get the fuck out of here.
It's not the new perimeter.
It's always been the same thing. Yeah, nothing's changing.
Well, we're going to dig into that next week, man, because I've got some really good, I think, logic to defend why we want to get out ahead of this. When the chicken comes home to roost, nobody's going to like it. and it is going to come home to roost. It's not a doomsday prediction-y thing. It's like logic. Like watch. It's like you have this path, right? This trajectory. You know where the fucking shit's going, because as long as you don't change course, it's pretty easy to predict it. If you decide to change course, well then great. You know, then it becomes harder to predict it probably. But anyway, change doesn't happen until it gets personal, and it's the breach that hits your hospital. It's your name on the lawsuit. I don't know if you've ever been sued before, but that's fun. It's your kid's PII, personally identifiable information, showing up on the dark web. And for any parent listening, if you think, well, my kid's personally identifiable information has never shown up on the dark web, I'm sorry to break it to you. It has shown up on the fucking dark web. And you may not feel the pain of it now because it hasn't been used yet. Once it gets used, that's part of the chicken coming home to roost, and it's going to fucking suck for your child.
Lock your credit. Lock their credit.
Well, even beyond that, man, what happens when it's DNA? What happens when it's medical records?
That's a whole nother level, but at least you can lock the credit now.
Yeah, true.
It's one step.
But all this shit, that's when leaders start caring. So next week, we're calling out this pain-driven culture, how it feeds denial, delays action, and leaves damage in its wake. Because if we only fix things after people suffer, we're not solving problems, we're surviving them. That's a big difference. So the call to action, Matt, what are the calls to action before we leave this thing?
Don't forget to like, subscribe to the podcast, share the episode with your leadership team or executives that keep saying, cyber's your thing. And
cyber's not my lane.
Cyber's your thing. I've actually gotten 3 non-tech people to listen to the podcast, and they actually told me they find it very interesting. They say we work together, and the episode last week that you said was going to be better as the recording, apparently it was. So cool on that.
Yeah.
And here's the exciting part. It looks like we have an email now. Don't forget to email us your stories or challenge our thoughts. show@infosec2insanity.com. Be real. Don't put no fluff on it. We'll read it.
Somebody read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not alone. You're not crazy. And you're damn sure not the only one who sees how broken this is. So until next time, stay human, stay paranoid, and we'll see you in the next war room.
Don't forget the pizza.
Oh, yeah. Bring pizza. And beer for the beer drinkers. Iced tea for me, please.
Arnold Palmer.